Whoever planned this, I think, made a big mistake. They put a preacher last on the program. However, I will try and suppress my urge to go on and make this very brief, but I hope meaningful. When they said we should wear something white, of course a preacher always has a white shirt, but I wasn't sure what to wear for blue. My blue tie isn't very exciting. And then I remembered my wife had a stole that she received. It was made in Guatemala, but it seemed to me just the right thing to put on, so that's what and it's appropriate that it been my wife's, because in a way she and Trudy sort of clicked. I think they saw life somewhat similar ways. In fact, Trudy was the first one to visit us when we moved here to Uplands, I think. Maybe not, but that's as I remember it. And my wife was a wonderful person who sometimes jumped in where angels feared to tread. And we were new to the country. We always grown up and lived in the city. And we were certainly new to the South. We were those Yankees. And so we didn't quite understand things down here. And so I won't tell you what the incident was, but Trudy paid a visit, and she helped us see what indeed we needed to do to fit in. And that was good, and that's so typical to me of Trudy seeing and then a concern, and she wanted us to be happy and adjusted, and she didn't want other people hurt. It was just wonderful, and I think that's kind of an example of the kind of person she was. Well, I think, do you remember those back rubs she used to give? I'm sure all of you remember those. And she'd say, "Would you like a back rub?" And she'd rub your back. And at first I thought, that's odd. And then I thought, And then I thought, oh no, was a nurse, and that's what they were trained to do. But then I realized, no, that wasn't it at all. It was a way that Trudy could show love and concern for whomever she was with. And so I kind of liked those back rubs. And of course, Trudy, I think it's fair to say, loved God's world, the out of doors. And sometimes I think maybe Dick took her to camping when she didn't want to go. But nonetheless, I think she really loved the out of doors. And we lived down on Wood Lane, and many's the day we would see Dick and Trudy passing by our house. We'd be outside and wave, and they were all dressed to go swimming in Jade Pond. And how Trudy, particularly, I think, loved swimming in Jade Pond. And she'd say, "Oh, come on and join us." Well, I hate to swim, so I didn't go. But my wife loved to swim, and so she would join them in Jade Pond swimming. Trudy also, of course, participated in hikes and trail walks around here in Uplands and in other places too. And about every day I walked from our house up to the post office and would walk by their house. And I'd almost always see Trudy out doing something in the garden. So I know she had a love of the out of doors. I know we were all saddened, as I was, by her final illness, which took away Trudy from us pieces by pieces. But then I had a wonderful experience. I was leading worship over at Horton Nursing Home, and Trudy was there. That was in the home she was living in. And I don't think she knew who I was. She was really almost totally unresponsive at that point. But Dick and I had sung together a number of times the old song, "His Eye is on the Sparrow." And Dick had a flute obligato that he would play as I would sing it. And so the hymn for that afternoon, I didn't intend it particularly thinking of Trudy, but we had that as one of the hymns. And as we were singing, I stepped up to Trudy and I put my hands on her shoulder and I sang it right to her. I looked into her eyes and I sang, "His eye is on the sparrow." And you know what happened? Her eyes lit up. She gave me a big smile and she laughed. Now, I like to think that somehow that song touched the reality that was still there, even though Trudy had pretty much left us. Well, I promised to be short, and I'll close with that story, because if I were to describe Trudy, it would be loving concern, and what else can you say? So I think that today I think of Trudy with that bright smile and laugh. And I think we leave that with a vision in our hearts about Trudy.